DD6. Imagine you are about to do something very important. Maybe a job interview. Maybe you're about to speak in front of many people. Maybe it's just a serious conversation that could change everything. Now, imagine before doing that, you quietly reach into your pocket and you feel something. Something small. Something calming. It's not just an object. It's a reminder. A guide. A silent power in your hand. What if this one small thing could center your mind, settle your nerves, and bring out the very best in you? Have you ever felt that your mind was too busy right before doing something important? Have you noticed how your hands shake, your breath becomes tight, and your thoughts go wild? Have you ever wished for just one thing that could calm you instantly and help you feel ready? Let's take a very simple example. A teacher once said to his students, "Before you speak, pause and feel the floor beneath your feet. It will make your words stronger." Now, think, what if, instead of the floor, it was something in your hand? Something that brings you back to your center instantly? That is the secret we are about to uncover in this video. Welcome to Wisdom Writings, where ancient truths meet modern minds. If you're ready to discover something so small, yet so powerful that it can shift the way you begin every important task, then you are in the right place. Like this video, share with someone who needs peace, subscribe to our channel, and please drop down your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters here. And yes, if you're ready to stay positive and grounded till the very end of this video, comment Namo Buddha below right now. It may seem small, but small things hold great energy. Let us now begin to uncover what the monks, the wise, and the mindful have always kept close before they acted. Something not loud, not magical, but deeply powerful. Something you too can carry in your own hand. Let's begin. Let us now continue walking the path that was gently opened before. In the first part, the idea of a secret thing in the hand before important work was planted like a quiet seed. But what is this thing? And why would someone devoted to peace and clarity, like the Buddha himself, give value to what is held in the hand? The secret is not in the object itself, but in what the object invites. In Buddhist practice, what we choose to touch or hold can become a gateway. It is not just a string of beads, or a wooden mala, or a folded leaf. It is a door to attention. Many people rush into important work with a racing mind, a disturbed breath, and a clouded heart. But the wise ones pause. They hold something sacred, not because it is magical, but because it grounds them. It brings the scattered attention into one single place, into the hand, into the moment. Long ago, in the quiet mountains of northern India, a monk prepared to give teachings to hundreds who had walked for days to listen. But before he spoke, he gently wrapped his hand around a simple, smooth stone. This was no relic. It had no markings. But to him, it had been with him in countless meditations. It carried his energy, his trust, his focus. With it in his hand, he felt anchored. And then he spoke. This act may seem small, but in Buddhism, it holds deep meaning. To hold something mindfully is to shift from the noise outside to the silence within. The hand and the breath meet. The heart follows, and the mind clears. Why does this work? Because the mind often follows what the body does. When we fidget, the mind becomes restless. But when we become still and our hands hold one single, intentional thing, the mind begins to mirror that stillness. The Buddha once taught, whatever one frequently thinks and ponders upon, they'll become the inclination of the mind. Now imagine that the hand, which often moves from task to task, instead holds only one sacred object before action. Over time, this becomes a ritual, and the ritual becomes a source of transformation. In many monasteries, before beginning chanting, monks touch their mala beads, not always to recite a mantra, but to remind themselves, I am here. I am ready. I carry intention. The beads become a companion, a witness, a silence keeper. This principle can be taken beyond the temple. Before writing, before meetings, before speaking to a loved one. If one holds the same object, that object becomes soaked with your calm. It remembers your focus, even when you forget. And each time you return to it, it reminds you of your highest self. Modern life often praises multitasking, But ancient teachings remind us, depth matters more than speed. If your hand holds something sacred, your action begins from a sacred place. This is not superstition. It is attention crystallized. The object does not act for you, but it helps you act from your best self. The way a compass doesn't walk the path of the traveler, but always points north. Different people may choose different objects. Some hold a leaf, freshly picked in the morning. Others may keep a folded prayer tucked into their sleeve. Some even hold nothing but form their hand into a mudra, a symbolic gesture of focus. What matters is not what it is. What matters is how deeply you relate to it. One disciple once asked his teacher, "Master, I have no beads, no charm, no token. What should I hold?" The teacher smiled and said, "Then hold your breath, for it is the first thing you were given, and hold it with reverence." This too is the teaching. Even the breath, when held with intention, becomes the secret thing, the anchor, the path. But in this part of our journey, the focus is on the physical, the object held, because it is through the senses that the beginner often finds peace first. And through that peace, deeper wisdom can arise. It is important to remember, the object is not the answer. It is a reminder, just as a candle is not the flame, but carries the flame when lit. Before important work, we often seek clarity. That clarity does not come from force. It comes from pause, from stillness, from presence. And to reach that presence, it helps to begin with something the hand can feel. The Buddha did not ask his disciples to carry many things. In fact, he spoke often of letting go. But he understood that rituals rooted in mindfulness help plant the seeds of awakening. So, let the object in your hand be chosen with care. Let it be something you do not grab in a hurry. Let it be something that invites you inward each time you hold it. And each time you hold it, let a small smile rise. Not for the object, but for what it signals, the beginning of intention, the beginning of awareness. The world outside may remain loud, but the object you hold, when chosen with clarity and reverence, can be your shelter, your silence, your start. This is how the wise prepare, not with noise, but with touch, not with rushing, but with remembrance. Let the hand and the heart meet in one object. Let it remind you, I am not just doing this work, I am becoming present for it. This is the lesson of the object of focus. Simple, hidden, powerful. The Zen master looked toward the disciple and smiled gently. When you hold something in your hand, truly hold it, not absent-mindedly, not with rush, but with full awareness. You're not just holding an object. You are inviting the energy of stillness. People often think the power lies in thought. But before the thought arises, before the mind even speaks, the hand already moves. The body knows what the heart hides. In the ancient monasteries, monks would not touch sacred objects casually. They would bow to them, breathe with them, and carry them as if they held the breath of 1,000 Buddhas. Because in truth, they did. There's a mystery the modern world has forgotten. The hand is not just a tool to act upon the world. It is a gate through which energy passes, both in and out. And what you carry in it before your most important moments determines the quality of your presence. If a man walks into battle with anger in his hand, his weapon becomes a tool of destruction. If he walks in with compassion in his hand, even a weapon becomes a shield. What changes is not the object, but the intention that flows through the hand. In Buddhism, the mudra, the hand gesture, is not decoration. It is instruction. Each position of the hand sends a message to the body and mind. A raised palm signals fearlessness. A cupped hand suggests offering. These gestures were not invented. They were discovered by watching how energy flows when the body is still and the heart is open. When you prepare for something important, an exam, a conversation, a performance, what do you hold? Often, it's your phone, or your pen, or your keys. And even in those moments, your nervousness transfers into the thing. You grip tightly. You fidget. Your energy leaks through the fingers. Now, imagine holding a small object, not for function, but for focus. A stone, smooth and ancient, or a bead from a mala, or a folded note with a single written word. What happens is subtle, but deep. The object begins to hold you too. This is not superstition. It is mindfulness in action. When the hand holds something with intention, it creates a bridge between body and mind. You begin to breathe more slowly. Your thoughts settle, because now the mind has a place to rest. One might ask, can this truly make a difference? The answer is, it already does. Watch a nervous speaker. They'll clutch a pen, tap the podium, rub their hands. All that motion is energy without direction. But if they hold something with clarity, the body knows where to send the excess. The hands become calm. The words become clear. The Buddha himself would touch the earth with his fingers when faced with the demon of illusion, Mara. That gesture alone, earth-touching Madra, reminded him and the universe of his right to be awake. That too was energy transfer, non-violence, in stillness. The hand is closest to the heart after all. The veins from the heart run through the wrist. What you carry in your hand, you carry in your spirit. That is why sacred objects are not about superstition. They're about sincerity. Sometimes, just before a monk gave a teaching, he would hold a flower, a leaf, or even nothing at all, but would raise his hand. That was enough, because what mattered was not the object, but the presence behind it. When a child gives you a drawing, folded and crumpled in their little palm, you do not care for the paper. You care for what came through their hand. Their joy, their pride, their offering. That's energy passed from one hand to another without words. So now, before your important moment, your exam, your performance, your confession, your prayer, pause. Choose one thing, not too big, not too loud, but something that reminds you to return to your breath. Hold it in your hand, not for luck, but for awareness. You will feel something happen inside you. It may not be dramatic, but it will be honest. The racing thoughts slow down. The heart knows where to beat. The mind quiets. The world waits. Some masters teach their students to hold an invisible string between thumb and finger when nervous. Feel the string, they say, even if it's not there. It's a way to create a path for the energy to flow. It gives the mind something to focus on. The same principle applies. This is not a shortcut. It's a doorway. Through the simple act of holding, you learn to release. The hand, once tense, becomes soft. The object, once external, becomes internal. And when a moment of action comes, you let go. You place the object aside, and you walk forward with a quiet power. Not because of what you held, but because of how you held it. In truth, the hand becomes your temple. And what you choose to carry into that sacred space will shape what you bring out of it. The energy transfer is real, but it is not mystical. It is mindful. With the right object, the right intention, and the right awareness, your hand becomes a vessel. And in that vessel, you carry more than tools. You carry truth. This is what the wise ones knew. What we must remember, the next time life asks you to rise, don't just prepare your thoughts. Prepare your hand, because sometimes the most powerful things in the world are small enough to hold. There's a sound that speaks inside every human being. It doesn't come from a mouth. It doesn't need a tongue or lips. It speaks before words. This sound is the voice of your mind. And most of the time, you don't even realize it's speaking. Now imagine you're about to do something important. Maybe a speech, a job interview, an exam, a conversation you've been dreading. Just before the moment arrives, what does this inner voice say to you? Is it peaceful, or does it whisper doubts? Does it encourage you? Or does it drag you down? In Buddhist practice, the inner voice is not ignored. It is not treated as meaningless background noise. It is treated as a signal, a message from the layers beneath your surface. And most importantly, it is something that can be transformed. But how does one transform a voice that lives inside the mind? The Buddha never told his followers to silence the mind forcefully. He taught them to purify it, to take the voice and gently redirect it, like a river being guided around a bend. He gave them a secret, a tool to hold, not just in the hand but in the heart, and that tool was intent. The object you hold before beginning important work isn't just a thing. It's a reminder, a symbol, a link between your body and your mind. And more importantly, it is a mirror that reflects your true intent back to you. When the hands grasp this object, whether it's a mala, a smooth stone, a small relic, or even your own two palms pressed together, it awakens a part of the mind that is often asleep. That part of the mind listens. It hears your intent. It hears what you whisper before you begin. Do not underestimate that moment before action. It is the root of all karma. What you think becomes what you do. What you do becomes your future. That small instant, when the hand closes around your chosen object, is when the seed of outcome is planted. In that moment, the wise practitioner does not rush. He does not panic. She does not let the voice of fear grow louder. They breathe. They become still. They say to themselves, not aloud, but within, this is for peace. This is for the benefit of all. What happens next is subtle. The object in the hand begins to vibrate, not in a physical sense, but as a presence. It becomes an anchor. The inner voice, once chaotic, now slows down. It starts to align with the body, the breath, the moment. This is not imagination. This is presence. Presence is the medicine that purifies the mind. In monasteries across the mountains of Asia, monks sit with beads between their fingers. But they're not just counting prayers. They are taming the mind. They are reshaping the voice inside so that it speaks the language of compassion and fearlessness. You don't need to be in a temple to do this. Wherever you are, in a city, in your room, on a stage, in a crowd, the method is the same. Before you act, place that object in your hand and make your intent clear. Not just clear, make it sacred. Say, may my actions create peace. May I be guided by truth. May I not act out of anger or greed. Let that intention fill your breath. Let it move through your fingertips. Let it settle into the object like water soaking into the earth. The voice within you will hear this. It will remember. And next time fear rises, it will respond differently. It will not panic. It will pause. It will say, wait, I have a purpose. The transformation of the inner voice is not sudden. It is gradual like a sunrise. Each time you hold the object, each time you state your true intent, you light a small candle inside the mind. Over time, these candles illuminate every corner of your thinking. One day, when the pressure is great, when a moment is big, you will reach for that object, not because you're afraid, but because you know it connects you to your highest self. It grounds you, and then something extraordinary happens. The object you once held with trembling hands now feels steady. The voice inside no longer doubts you. It stands beside you. Many people chase success without ever training the mind that will face it. But those who follow the Dharma and know better, they train the voice before the task begins. This is why intent matters more than skill. This is why the object in your hand must not be random. It must mean something. It must echo your values. When the inner voice is transformed, your entire presence changes. People feel it. Animals sense it. Even the wind seems to move differently around someone who walks with clear, calm purpose. This is not magic. This is the fruit of mindfulness. In Buddhist teachings, one does not just hold an object to prepare the mind. One lives with it. One carries it like a silent friend, a companion, a vow made physical. So, before your next important task, remember this. The hand must hold the object, but the heart must hold the vow. Let your intent not be to win. Let be to serve. Let be to learn. Let be to leave behind a trace of goodness wherever you act. The object is the trigger. The intent is the fuel. The voice is the vehicle. And the path ahead is yours to walk, calmly, with strength, and in truth. Now that the voice inside has begun to shift, the question becomes, how did the great teachers train this voice every day, even when no important work was near? That is the doorway to the next part of this journey. Long ago, when silence echoed louder than words, monks walked with bare feet and full hearts. They did not carry much, just a robe, a bowl, and one other thing, something small, yet deeply sacred. Not everyone noticed it. Even those who walked beside them often missed its presence. It was always there, always held, always remembered. You see, the ancient monks didn't rely on grand temples or golden statues. Their power didn't come from the outside. It came from within. Yet, to remind themselves of that silent power, they kept one thing close. It wasn't magic. It wasn't wealth. It was a symbol, a deeply personal one, a bridge between their mind and the present moment. This object could be a stone, a wooden bead, a folded leaf, or even a thread. But it wasn't about what the object was. It was about what it meant. To them, it represented the path, the middle way, a reminder that no matter what happens outside, peace can still bloom inside. It was their secret anchor, and they held it before every important step, every mindful action. A monk once said, "The hand remembers what the mind forgets." That's why he carried a smooth river stone wrapped in cloth. Every time he touched it, he remembered not to rush, not to react, not to fall into the traps of ego or anger. That stone, though silent, whispered teachings that even words could not express. Many people today chase complicated tools to find peace. They search apps, podcasts, courses. But those monks, those calm wanderers of the earth, held only what truly mattered. That one sacred object wasn't just a thing. It was a part of their meditation, a physical doorway to their inner stillness. And why do they carry it? Not for ritual, not for tradition, but because the mind forgets so easily. It forgets what matters. It forgets how to be still before acting. So, the object helped them pause, just long enough to return to awareness. That pause could save them from mistake, could make their next act more mindful, more kind, more awake. One story tells of a monk who held a small twig every morning. Before teaching, before walking, before speaking, he would sit and wrap his fingers around it. It was not a sacred relic, just a fallen branch from a Bodhi tree. But to him, it was everything. It reminded him that he too could bend but not break, that he too could be grounded yet free. The object was never worshipped. That's important to understand. Buddhism does not teach attachment to things. Instead, the monks used the object as a reminder of non-attachment. A paradox, yes, but a wise one, because the object was not the goal. It was the mirror. When a monk holds such an object, he doesn't pray to it. He listens through it. He listens to himself. He checks his breath, his posture, his motives. He asks, is this act for peace or for pride? That silent question, asked through touch, could change the entire outcome of his day. The monks believed that what is held before action often shapes the action itself. If you hold fear, you will act from fear. If you hold peace, you will move with grace. The object helped them choose peace, again and again, in each small moment, in every choice. They didn't speak of it much. It was not a topic for debate or doctrine. It was quiet, personal, yet its presence was known, in the way they stepped lightly, in the way they looked at the world, with eyes that had already remembered what matters most. Even the great Zen masters, those known for their riddles and silences, carried small tokens. One carried a single lotus seed, another a knot of red thread, another a bell without a clapper, silent like his teachings. These things are not magical. They were meaningful. They were reminders of presence, simplicity, and humility. So often in life, we begin important work with a busy mind. We jump into it with thoughts scattered like leaves in the wind. But the monks knew better. They knew that stillness before action is not a delay. It is preparation, sacred preparation, a moment of reunion with what is real. They taught this not through speeches, but through practice. This showed in the way they held their secret object just before entering a hall, starting a chant, or offering food. In that small gesture was a world of wisdom, a world most people overlook in their rush. Now think about your own life. What you hold before you begin something important. Is it worry, doubt, pressure? Or can you choose something else? Something quieter? Something sacred? Even if it is invisible to others, it can change everything for you. Remember, it's not about what the object is. It's about what it awakens in you. It could be a tiny pebble, a folded note, a thread from a loved one's cloth. What matters is the intention, the remembrance, the quiet voice that says, be present, be kind, be aware. And when you hold it, don't rush. Feel its weight. Feel its silence. Let's slow your breath. Let it remind you, you are not doing this alone. You walk with the practice of generations, with the peace of monks who walked barefoot with mountains in their hearts. This is why the ancient monks always held something, not to cling to, but to let go. To let go of distraction, of pride, of fear. They held something small so they could remember something infinite. So when you're about to begin your important work, be it speaking, writing, leading, helping, don't forget to hold your own sacred thing. Not out of habit, but out of love, out of wisdom, out of the wish to live fully in this moment. And in that moment, may you feel what the monks once felt, the power of silence, the calm of awareness, the truth that the smallest thing, when held with the right mind, becomes the greatest source of strength. A wise one once said, "What the hand does, the heart remembers." And in this part of the journey, we arrive at something few people understand deeply: how the movement of the hand shapes the stillness of the mind. Before any great task, before the moment of action, there are tiny movements, quiet rituals, and ancient habits passed down by those who walked the path of mindfulness long before us. A monk does not wait for wisdom to arrive in a flash of light. Instead, he sharpens his presence every day with small acts. He holds the mala beads not for decoration, but for purification. The hand touches each bead gently, not to count, but to anchor the mind. Every touch is a reminder. Stay. Be here. Do not rush ahead. The modern world has lost its patience. People reach for their phones before they reach for their breath. But in the monastery, the first movement is sacred. The hand moves to light the candle. The fingers wrap around the bowl. The palm folds in a prayer. These are not empty gestures. They are signals sent to the brain. Now we prepare. Preparation is not about doing more. It is about clearing less. Less clutter in the mind. Less noise in the heart. The hand helps the mind to remember that silence is not empty. It is full of presence. When you hold something with reverence, like a string of beads, a leaf, a stone, or even a single flower, you are not just holding an object. You are holding a moment. And that moment teaches you how to meet the next. The secret thing in the hand before important work is not magic. It is memory. The memory of 1,000 repetitions. The memory of still mornings. The memory of choosing not to react but to respond. In that act, the hand becomes a mirror of the mind. Still, ready, clear. Buddha himself often taught with his hands. Not just with words. The way he turned his palm upward. The way he touched the earth. These were gestures of great significance. You see, before a task is begun, before a teaching is given, the hand must become aware. And in that awareness, the whole being aligns. The ritual is not about superstition. It is about rhythm. The rhythm between intention and action. The monk does not rush into chanting. He breathes first. He bows. He arranges his robe. All of it may seem small to the eye, but it is mighty to the soul. Each act is a doorway to presence. Let me ask you, before your next important work, what do you hold? Is it your doubt? Is it your fear? Or do you hold something that brings you to peace, to purpose, to clarity? That is why this teaching matters. Because what you hold before the act decides how you will act. There's a story of a disciple who asked the master, "Why do you always hold that small cloth in your hand before you speak?" The master smiled and said, "Because it reminds me to wipe away the dust of distraction." That cloth was no ordinary item. It was a ritual, a teacher, a silent guide. Today's world celebrates haste, but Buddhism celebrates pause. The pause before the word, the pause before the step, the pause before the offering. This pause is often guided by the hand, folded, open, grounded. These are physical postures, but they awaken mental clarity. Do you remember the first time you did something important and succeeded? Think carefully. What did you do just before that? Did you breathe deeply? Did you say a silent word? Did you clench your fist with resolve? Those two are rituals. Your body remembers what your mind forgets. So we practice, not to impress anyone, but to prepare ourselves. Just as the sword is sharpened before the battle, the mind is sharpened before the deed. And the sharpening is done through the simplest of things: a gesture, a breath, a sacred hold. Even the sweeping of a temple floor is a ritual. The monk does not do it because the floor is dirty. He does it because the act of sweeping clears his inner world. He grips the broom with devotion. He moves with grace. His mind becomes as clean, as the ground beneath him. And now, reflect on your own life. Is there one simple thing you can hold just before you step into your next challenge? It does not need to be religious. It must only be meaningful. Perhaps a small stone, a folded paper, a smooth bead, even your own hand held in stillness. The secret is not the object. The secret is your attention. When the hand becomes conscious, the mind becomes calm. And from that calmness, right action flows. You're no longer reacting blindly. You're moving with purpose. This is why the masters never begin without the gesture. Before the walk, they bow. Before the chant, they inhale. Before the teaching, they sit. These movements are small, but they carry centuries of wisdom. Each one says, I am not rushing. I am arriving. If the mind is a river, the hand is the dam that slows it, that allows stillness to rise. And from that stillness, clarity emerges. So when you begin your next important work, remember this. Let your hand hold what your heart needs. Hold what centers you, what returns you to now, what pulls you away from distraction and into purpose. That is your secret tool, your unseen strength, your invisible blessing. And when you make it a practice, day after day, moment after moment, you'll find that every important task begins not with noise, but with a sacred stillness in your hand. And that stillness is where your power lives. Before any great action, there is a silence that waits, a moment that trembles quietly. The wise ones do not rush into this moment. They pause, they breathe, and most importantly, they reach for the one thing that keeps them steady, the secret thing they carry in their hand. Why in the hand? Because the hand is not just for doing, it is also for remembering. In the palm lies not only the strength to build, but also the power to calm. That is why the Buddha often taught that the hand should be the servant of the awakened mind, not the restless one. Think for a moment. When you're nervous before a big task, before a speech, a meeting, a decision, where do you feel it? Your fingers may tremble. Your hands may sweat. You rub your palms, trying to settle yourself. The hand responds to fear, but it can also be trained to respond to stillness. This is where the secret thing comes in. It is not magic. It is not even complex. But when held with awareness, it becomes a bridge between the scattered mind and the moment that lies ahead. Some carried a smooth stone. Others held a strand of beads. Some touched the edge of a robe or the wooden ring from a teacher's gift. What mattered was not the object itself, but the energy that flowed through it. An intention, a memory, a silent vow. This thing in the hand was not for show. It was not a decoration. It was a reminder. Be here. Be still. Be one with what you are about to do. It told the body to relax and the mind to open like a flower at sunrise. The great monks of old, before delivering teachings or walking into king's courts, would gently press their thumb to the center of the palm. A gesture so small, but full of meaning. I return to the center, they would say. Let the center act through me. You do not need to be a monk to feel this. Even now, if you close your hand and bring your attention to its center, there is a warmth, a pulse. That is life reminding you, you are here. This is real. You are ready. The hand becomes the anchor when the waves of thought grow high. And the secret thing is the rope tied to that anchor. It brings you back, again and again, no matter how many times your mind wanders. Before great work, the wise person does not rush. They sit with the object in their hand. They allow their breath to join with the moment. They wait until there is no doubt left, only presence. The action that comes from such a place is different. It is not desperate. It is not proud. It is clean, like a single drop falling into a still pond. It carries power without noise. If you observe carefully, you'll see it in the world. A teacher holding a pen tightly before writing on the board. A doctor rubbing a ring before surgery. A speaker gripping a small stone in their pocket. None of them talk about it, but they all return to the hand. Even the Buddha, before rising from meditation to offer words, would pass his fingers lightly over his robe. A touch, gentle and full of purpose. Not superstition, just remembrance. There is something sacred about the first moment of any action. And if you enter that moment with noise in your head, the purity of what follows is lost. But if you step in with full attention, everything you do becomes a prayer. That is why the object is secret. Not because others must not see it, but because its value lies within. It is your doorway back to clarity. It is the whisper before the thunder of achievement. Some asked the Buddha, "What should we hold, Master?" And he replied, "Hold what brings you to the present, not what adds weight, but what reminds you to release." The best object is not chosen by the hand, but by the heart. It must speak to your spirit. It must calm your breath. It must invite you into the now. And once you find it, never forget its purpose. It is not meant to decorate your shelf. It is meant to serve your stillness. Keep it near. Let it know your fears, your hopes, your truth. And when the world feels like too much, when decisions pile up, when the stakes are high, when the room expects your best, reach into your hand. Find it. Hold it. Let your fingers remember your promise to yourself. The one who acts from this place, the one who begins with balance, cannot be shaken easily. They become like the mountain, silent, rooted, and unwavering, no matter the storm. Before you act, return to the hand. Return to the object. Return to the breath. Let that be your temple emotion. Let that be your step into the sacred. The world will never see what you hold, but it will feel the difference in what you do. They say, if you hold a leaf with attention, you hold the forest. If you hold a single breath with awareness, you hold the entire universe. So now, when the moment comes, when you must face something important, when the pressure is heavy and the heart starts to race, what should you hold in your hand? Hold stillness. Not just in your hand, but in your heart, in your breath, in your gaze. You come a long way in this journey. You've seen how monks use small sacred objects, how rituals were shaped around something simple held before great tasks. You've heard how attention can be focused through the palm, how holding something sacred creates a bridge between your outer task and your inner world. But the final lesson is something deeper. Now you must understand why this practice transforms you. Not just for the moment, not just to succeed in your task, but in how it makes you become the person who walks into that moment fully alive, fully awake, and untouched by fear. This is the secret. What you hold in your hand before important work is not just an object. It is a reminder, a memory, a vow. In that moment, the item becomes your teacher. Maybe it's a small stone you picked from the path during a peaceful morning walk. Maybe it's a mala bead gifted by someone who believed in you. Maybe it's just your own palm, pressed gently together in reverence. Whatever it is, it must not be random. It must mean something to you. When you hold it, it must whisper to you silently, "Be still. Be focused. You are ready." A carpenter does not fear the wood once he sharpens his tools. A monk does not fear the crowd when he steadies his breath. You, too, need not fear the moment ahead if you carry the right presence into it. And this presence starts with something in the hand, but ends in the heart. You see, Buddhism never asks you to add more. It asks you to remove what is not real. When fear arises before important work, it's not the work that is frightening. It is the stories we carry about the work. Stories like, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if they don't accept me? But when you hold this secret thing in your hand, a thing that reminds you of calm, of faith, of discipline, those stories begin to vanish. Because now you're not just you. You are a continuation of every moment that led to this one. You are walking in with a piece of the sacred. The object you carry does not carry magic. It is not a charm. It is your mirror. It reflects who you are trying to be in this moment. And so it becomes holy. There's an old Zen story. A monk once asked his master, "What should I do before I give my most important teaching?" The master said, "Sweep the floor." The monk was confused. "Why sweep the floor?" The master replied, "So your mind may be as clean as the ground your students walk upon." That's what this object in your hand does. It sweeps your inner floor. It says, pause, clean up, leave behind yesterday, face this moment fresh. Whether your important work is a job interview, a difficult conversation, a public talk, or even a silent prayer, this tiny act of holding a sacred thing grounds you. Even great warriors of ancient times knew this. Before battle, they would touch their talisman, not to bring luck, but to remember. They had trained for this. They were ready. They were not alone. And neither are you. This is not about superstition. It is about conscious action. It is about stepping into the moment with choice, not by chance. You don't rush. You don't fumble. You don't beg the universe to make things easier. You just breathe. You hold the object. You center yourself. And then you walk forward, no longer as someone seeking power, but as someone who already holds it within. The secret thing you carry before important work becomes your anchor. It says, this is the real you, the calm you, the prepared you, the present you. So many people rush into life's important tasks lost in their thoughts, tangled in fear. But you, who has walked the path of these teachings, you now know better. You now walk in like a monk entering a temple, with intention in every step, with presence in every word. You don't have to prove yourself. You only need to reveal yourself. And when you do, your actions will flow naturally. Your words will find their place. Your hands will work not with panic, but with peace. This is the power of the secret you hold. Not because it is something rare or expensive, but because you gave it meaning. You made it a part of your ritual. You made it a part of your preparation. And that made all the difference. Let others wonder why you seem calm before pressure. Let them ask how you handle stress so gracefully. You don't have to explain. You just smile, place your hand gently on that sacred thing, and walk forward. That is your way now. That is the way of those who have learned the deep lesson. So as this journey ends, the Master says to you, you no longer need more lessons. You need more practice. Hold what is sacred. Walk with purpose. And never forget, what you hold before the moment will shape what the moment becomes. Now take a breath. Look at your hands. And remember, you are ready. Welcome to Wisdom Writings. If this video gave you peace, clarity, or insight, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more calm in a noisy world. You have now received the full teaching. Carry it wisely, and may your every important moment be touched by the sacred.